there, it's day 20 and it's project day. Have you ever wondered how to track your expenses? Now let me show you a simple Python project that will enable you create new expenses, edit existing expenses, and delete from your current expenses. Have you ever used those budget apps? This is a simple way to generate yours. Well, not the app, just a Python program. And you can build on it if you're really interested in doing that. Welcome to day 20, 20 days already. And today is project day. Today I would be doing a simple project, a simple expense tracker that records your expenses and then it shows the summary of your total expenses. And the steps that I will take is to be able to list out your expense record, allows you to be able to add new expenses, and then you're able to like display the total expenses and then a breakdown by the category. So in this project, I will be using three functions. One function to be able to add your expenses, the second function to be able to view your expenses, and then your expense tracker function. So first, let me define an empty list that we would call expenses. And then our first function, we want to be able to add expense. So what do we want to do here? We want to be able to get the user to enter their expense category. Either they want the expenses for rent, is for entertainment, or is for food. And then we want to be able to get the amount, what is the cost of the expense. And then whatever we have, the category, and then the amount, I want to be able to append it into my list. So then we need two inputs to be able to get the expense category and then the amount, and then append the category and the amount into our expense. So this is the very first function. And then the second function is that now that we've gotten the input from the user, we have to be able to view the expenses. So then we have dev, we have view, and we have expense. View expenses, and what do I want to do? If there's no, first thing is that if there's no expense there, I want to be able to print out a message that, oh, you have not yet inputted like an expense, so there's really nothing to view. And then if there's an expense, I want to be able to give you like the total, give you the categories, and then give you like a breakdown of the expenses that you made. So yeah, the total initially would be 0, and then we'll now have our category total, which will be an empty dictionary that we're declaring. And then for every category and for every amount that is an expense, we want to be able to like add the total. So whatever sum they have, we want to be able to like add it to it. And then if category is in category total, we want to also be able to add the amount. Otherwise, we don't want to do that. And then we want to print out the total in two significant figures. And then we want to print out a breakdown by category. So viewing the expense, we want to view the categories and then the amount and then the total amount that the person spent in each category. So this is our two functions, and then we'll have like our expense tracker function, which will be our final function. So expense tracker. And then while this is true, what do we want for our system to display? So while this is true, we would like to be able to print a message that they have to enter 1 if they want to add an expense, and enter 2 if they want to view an expense, and enter 3 if they would like to exit. So the choice, I want them to be able to enter 1, 2, or 3 to exit. If they enter 1, then I want to call this function that the person wants to add a new expense to it. If they enter 2, then I want to view the expense that the person has added. If they enter 3, then I want to not do anything. That is, I want to break the function. So now we'll have our if statement that if the choice is 1, call this function. If the choice is 2, call this function. If the choice is 3, break. But then what if the person then enters something that is not 1, 2, or 3? I don't want my function to fail because the person entered an invalid choice. Then I have an else statement and then invalid choice. Please try again. And then I would call my final function to just like seal everything together. So what we have here is 3 functions: to add the expense, to view the expense, and then the expense tracker function. Let's try it out. So I run this, you see, choose an option, and then we're printing out add expense, view expense, and exit. And we also specify that it should be on a new line. So if I write 2, this is brand new, so I've not entered any expense. So I expect it to print that there's no expense recorded. Let's see, no expenses recorded. And then it runs again, like choose an option. Do you want to add an expense? Do you want to view an expense? Do you want to exit? But we can't view because there's currently no expenses. So then I'll click on 1. I want to add an expense. So then enter the expense category. It can be any category. This is just like examples of the category, but you can choose to write anything. And then I want to write the expense category food. We choose 1, and then 1 is then calling this function. And you see, we want to get 2 inputs from the user, their category and then the amount, and then we will append it into our empty list. So this is my expense category food. Enter, and then what is the amount in dollars? So let's say $20, and then it has added it to the list. So now if I want to view it, for example, so view my expense, you see we have our total expense and then a breakdown by the category. So that's what we have here, that the total expense, we are defined total as 0, and then any amount per category, we're then summing it into the total, so we can have the total value of the overall expense. And then we also want to have the breakdown. So it goes through and gets the category and then the amount for each item. So that's where we have total expense and then we have breakdown by category. So if I want to add another expense, for example, I want to add rent, and rent is $50, and enter. And now if I want to view my expense, you see we have rent, $50, and then we have food, and then we have a total expense at $70. So this is like a simple way to build like a simple expense tracker. You can add more functions if you want to be able to print it out, if you want to be able to save it into a CSV file or a TXT file, whatever, or if you want to be able to edit the existing entries, because now we can only add and view. If you can also add to be able to like edit the previous expense that you have added, or you want to delete from it, and so on and so forth. But this is a simple way to add. We get the input from the users, and then we add the category and the amount into the expenses. We get our total, and then we're able to print out the breakdown of each category. And now I click on 3 to exit. That's it for this video. Do not forget to like, to subscribe, to share, and to leave a comment. And the link to the notebook that we worked on is available in my GitHub. Link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you tomorrow.